Joy Behar had not expected it. A minute later, she was being insulted in front of millions of people while making her usual clever remarks on The View. Longtime colleague Sunny Hostin, a strong advocate for racial justice, turned her focus inward at a critical moment and cast a cloud over Joy with an enigmatic remark that rocked the studio. At home, viewers leaned in to see Joy's face tighten as she took in the information. The claim wasn't straightforward, but it didn't have to be. The implication was obvious, and it was hurtful that years of sharp repartee and clever joking could be turned into a legal argument with the former First Lady. Sunny hinted that Joy had gone too far with her remarks and jokes, which supposedly stoked Melania Trump's bombshell $100 million lawsuit. There was silence in the studio. Joy had no intention of letting it go. She spoke steadily yet sharply. "Do you mean that my comments are the reason for this lawsuit?" The air in the room tightened. The audience sensed that what had begun as a typical morning on The View had abruptly turned into live television history. This was more than simply a dispute. It was happy and intimate. Sunny hesitated, then doubled in, visibly annoyed. That is to say, certain storylines were forcefully promoted. Behar was ready to strike back, but why had Sunny Hostin made such a bold charge in the first place? Keep reading, because the solution lies in a startling family truth that swiftly turned Sunny from a target to a critic. Sunny Hostin had made a name for herself on The View as a brave social justice activist who never held back when exposing past injustices, racism, and inequality. When Sunny unexpectedly appeared on the PBS program Finding Your Roots, everything changed. Her voice was unmistakably clear that there was no space for forgiveness of previous transgressions. Both Sunny and the audience, who had seen her vocal denunciations of institutional racism for a short while on television, were shocked to learn that Sunny's third great-grandfather had owned slaves. But instead of confronting the revelation directly, Sunny wrote it off as a regrettable historical reality and a product of its era. Both fans and detractors questioned how someone who had been so vocal about historical responsibility could overlook her own family's difficult background in the quick and harsh reaction. People wanted to know why someone who had always held others to high moral standards was suddenly avoiding responsibility for the deeds of her forebears. And social media was rife with allegations of hypocrisy. But the criticism wasn't only from those who disagreed with her. Even Sunny's loyal fans began to feel uncomfortable about the way she handled such a big revelation. Another storm that would thrust her co-host Joy Behar into the limelight and lead to a showdown unlike anything The View has ever seen was brewing as the public started to question Sunny's moral character. It would be Joy, not Sunny, who would make the next move. Her once unflinching moral compass suddenly seemed shaky, but this was only the start. Following Sunny's shocking family disclosure, social media erupted in outrage rather than sympathy. How could Sunny, who has often demanded that powerful people take responsibility for their deeds, so heedlessly overlook the fact that her own ancestor was a slave owner? Online criticism was not the only kind of pushback. Her admirers, who had formerly admired her for her moral clarity, suddenly questioned her sincerity. It was also from those on the other side of the political spectrum. Fox News commentator Greg Gutfeld took advantage of the circumstance and criticized Sunny's reaction for a whole program. He charged her with hypocrisy and holding others to a standard she couldn't live up to. Gutfeld didn't mince words when he portrayed Sunny as a moralist who wavered when the wrongdoings of her own family were exposed. More criticism was generated by his part, adding to the emerging internet narrative that Sunny was not as moral as she seemed to be. Persistent and unforgiving, when pieces denouncing the double standard went viral on social media, this tale gained further attention. Memes criticized her postings, dissected her comments, and trended hashtags that cast doubt on her moral character. It wasn't simply a disagreement, it was a whole character crisis. Even though Sunny Hostin, the fierce champion of justice, was suddenly on the defense, a much more crucial problem was lurking in the background that would endanger not only her image but The View as a whole, since Sunny was too busy trying to escape criticism. Sunny was on the verge of making a mistake that would directly place Joy Behar at the center of Melania Trump's lawsuit, which she was planning to include everyone in. Then came the startling announcement was suing for $100 million for allegedly harmful and defamatory remarks. The details of the case were unclear, but it was hard to ignore the timing given the media frenzy surrounding Sunny Host's family. Even though Melania's case was in the news and the public was still unaware of it, this was not just another celebrity lawsuit, it was something far more dangerous. Greg Gutfeld, already unrelenting in his criticism of Sunny, he went one step further and skillfully connected the dots between Sunny's disrespectful attitude to her family history and the case Melania had filed. At a moment when Melania was vehemently defending her image, Gutfeld displayed a photograph. When the plot was constructed, Sunny was avoiding taking responsibility for the tumultuous past of her own family, and it was suddenly devastating. When Sunny implied to Ed on live television that Joy Behar's on-air jokes and comments had fueled the narrative that led to Melania's lawsuit, she made a critical error in a moment of thinly disguised irritation. More than simply a chat show, The View was at the heart of a media frenzy that included claims of personal betrayal, hypocrisy, and now an imminent legal dispute. Rumors that sponsors were becoming uncomfortable about the show's scandal spiraling out of control caused anxiety among ABC's backstage producers. It was a dangerous accusation, and Sunny was gravely mistaken if she thought Joy would keep quiet because Joy Behar would respond, and not in a lighthearted manner. Sunny said that Joy's humor had equipped people like Melania with the means to retaliate. Joy Behar sat in startled silence for a minute, staring at Sunny Cost. The crowd held their breath as Sunny quietly accused Joy of fueling the fire in the studio. It was impossible to ignore Melania Trump's $100 million lawsuit, and Joy was not going to ignore it. It wasn't a joke, it wasn't a funny jab. Joy's expression shifted from one of astonishment to one of more thoughtful consideration as she leaned forward, revealing the tension in the room. "Are you suggesting that I'm responsible for my lawsuit?" was the question that weighed thick in the air, interrupting her calm voice. Sunny hesitated, clearly realizing the gravity of her words, but the damage was already done. Joy didn't wait for an answer before launching into a pointed and caustic rejoinder, reminding Sunny live on TV of all the times she had been given the chance to speak up against racism and injustice. Joy pointed out the glaring contradiction. Sunny had never shied away from holding others accountable for their deeds, but she suddenly avoided taking responsibility when faced with the horrific history of her own family. "What prevents you from holding yourself to the same standards as other people?" Joy's voice didn't need to elevate, yet the weight of her remarks hit like a hammer, as if a jest might somehow ignite a $1 billion court war. The crowd was shocked when she revealed Sunny's inconsistent position, not simply to defend herself. Sunny's eyes were seen darting on camera as she tried to find a way out. But Joy wasn't finished yet. A line had been drawn on the sand by Joy. This conflict was not yet about banter. The only question was whether Sunny would resist or crumble under the pressure. Joy Behar's scathing comments obviously shook Sunny Hostin, who sat still. All eyes were on Sunny as she waited for her response, and the studio that had once been a place of fun banter and informal discussion had become a battlefield. But the feisty co-host seemed stunned for the first time. When Joy added, "You've spent years calling out people for refusing to acknowledge their role in systemic problems," she wasn't done. "But now you're blaming me for a lawsuit that has nothing to do with me," she said, adding that it's too awkward to confront when it's part of your family's history. Each phrase stung harder, yet Sunny's face stiffened as she opened her mouth and closed it again. Silence spoke louder than words. The cameras recorded every emotional moment. Mistaking embarrassment and annoyance, the audience felt that Joy had confined her behind the scenes. Producers mumbled uneasily, not sure whether to cut the commercial short or let the fight continue, but it was too good to ignore. The production crew went into a panic since this was an actual, unstaged debate that was unfolding in real time. Joy stepped back slightly as she made her argument, but her eyes remained glued on Sunny despite the murmurs of the live audience. The problem of defending oneself or confronting it was evident, and footage of the exchange were already going viral on social media. Online hashtags began to go viral, with some praising Joy for calling out hypocrisy and others denouncing her for disparaging Sunny in public. But despite Joy's stunning blow, Sunny now found herself at a crossroads. Would she battle to repair her image, or would this dispute worsen? This made it obvious that the rivalry was far from finished. The damage was done when Sunny Hostin remained still, her silence stronger than words. The harsh criticism from Joy Behar revealed a disparity. Beyond the cameras, Sunny struggled to explain how the stifling studio environment made the audience too shocked to react. Videos of Joy's takedown went viral on social media, and the damage had already begun. Some viewers condemned Joy for being too harsh and turning a private conflict into a public spectacle, while others applauded her for holding Sunny responsible and calling it a necessary confrontation. Because advertisers were reportedly angry and producers believed the show's dynamic was about to collapse, ABC officials hurried to maintain control. Days went by, but Joy and Sunny's shared stage did not reveal any friction. Rather, they exuded a chilly, aloof spirit, and the audience listened carefully, scrutinizing every word and look. The issue still stood. Could they get over this? Or was their romance on screen coming to an end? In later interviews, Sunny remained silent when asked about the incident. She said that it was difficult to digest the genealogical news, but she had no regrets for how she handled the matter or for placing the blame on Joy. However, Joy made it clear in her own way. So what do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you don't want to miss out on the hottest celebrity news, make sure to subscribe to Daily Finder.